research doesn't happen necessarily in a chemistry lab or a physics lab. It's a mix of sitting behind a computer at times to also being in the field at times. I do a lot of natural language processing, which I know ChatGPT is very famous these days, as well as trying to understand the results of hydrometeorological models. But on the flip side, I love talking to people, so I do a lot of research in the field, which means interviewing people who've been impacted by floods in India. My name is Harman Singh, and I am a dual-title Ph.D. candidate in geography and climate science. I grew up in a pretty big city in India, Chandigarh. It's the closest city to the Himalayas per se, and also pretty close to the India-Pakistan border. I was also fascinated by the monsoon season. There's intense rainfall usually during the afternoons. Everyone's kind of taking shelter, and children are on the streets making paper boats. That's a very distinct memory. But then over the years, there was just so much more rainfall that the streets would remain flooded, so it became unsafe for someone to send their children outside. Those experiences kind of speak to me and motivate me that this is where I want a career. I am specifically interested in the motivations behind climate adaptation planning, specifically how it relates to flooding. Fortunately, climate adaptation planning takes into account a lot of complexities that an urban space, in this case a city, may be experiencing, such as pollution problems and how they may intersect with solid waste management, which also then intersects with flooding. So that's sort of the angle that I'm trying to understand, is how these interrelated crises lead to maybe better flood management. I feel like a lot of times in the labs we see numbers and they feel very unreal, but a lot of experiences in my personal life. I am part of a CSA farm out by Bellefonte, and when there were wildfires in Canada, the entire crop for that season was impacted. You could just see that the leaves had turned yellow because there was so much dust in the air and there was just not enough sunlight.